You're listening to Battling Opioids, the podcast. Battling Opioids, the podcast, now on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcast, TuneIn, Amazon, YouTube, and now Radio.com.
Welcome to Battling Opioids podcast. Today, VIA's public media, Chris Norton, appears on Special Edition with Paula Deignan, and they'll talk about Battling Opioids Part 3, airing on all 7 Pennsylvania public media stations September 26th.
The project is called Battling Opioids, and it's a project of Pennsylvania Public Media. Here in northeastern Pennsylvania, VIA Public Media has radio and television and web services serving northeastern Pennsylvania. There's also a station in Erie, and there's also a station in Pittsburgh, and there's a station in State College, and in the Lehigh Valley, and in Philadelphia, and in Harrisburg. And all 7 Pennsylvania public media stations decided to work together a couple of years ago when this opioid crisis seemed to be getting totally out of hand. The governor declared a disaster. It's really a serious thing. Pennsylvania is one of the highest opioid addiction rates in the nation. Mm-hmm. And we are working together as public media all around the state to try to turn the tide, to fight the stigma that goes along with addiction, and to focus on stories of recovery and just the battle to get through addiction, to try to save lives and improve the state of health in Pennsylvania. So for a couple of years now, we've been taking this on, working together to highlight stories from all around the state about the problem, the crisis in addiction, opioid addiction, and various solutions. Where is there hope? Where are there recovery stories and success stories to tell? This is the 3rd major television event. That's why we call it Battling Opioids Part 3. It started about a year ago, and this is the 3rd one. And in this one, there will be a whole series of stories, different angles of opioid addiction, and then a panel discussion featuring some important state people who bring a state perspective to what can be done, representing Pennsylvania's Department of Health and State Senator Gene Yaw, who is a leader in the state on fighting opioid addiction. It's all September 26th. On VIA TV, and a lot of these stories can be found and additional information on the website battlingopioids.org.
You're bringing everything from the state here to Pittston. How do you coordinate that with all the other stations? Over
the years, the last couple of years, there have been a series of conference calls and meetings among the Pennsylvania public media stations, and they've said, here's what's going on in our region, here's what we're aware of, here's a new recovery center that's just opened in Wilkes-Barre that WVIA will take the lead of telling that story, and we'll be in touch with the state legislators and the State Department of Health to say what are the new developments, what are the new statistics. We'll gather that information, and then we'll decide, how about you do a story on this, and we in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre will do a story on that, and you in Pittsburgh do a story on that, and then we choose the best of those and put them into this television broadcast. The more difficult thing to coordinate is getting the head honchos who have information to tell into Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, into the studio. But this is the 3rd time now we've done a panel discussion at the VIA studio in Pittston with, in this case, Ray Barashansky. He's the Deputy Secretary of Health Preparedness and Community Protection for the Pennsylvania Department of Health. And also Deputy Secretary Ellen DiDomenico, who talks a lot about the helpline that the state has set up and what are the various resources available. And they all come together at WVIA, and we do a panel discussion.
When it airs, does it air on all the stations at the same time?
Good point. It is, in fact, common carriage among all of the Pennsylvania public media stations. They may not all have it at the same hour, but we're all targeting Thursday, September 26th. In the case of VIA, it'll be on at 8 p.m., and most of the others will be carrying it at that same time or within a few hours of that. It's also available on streaming. It'll be repeated. The individual stories of it will be available at battlingopioids.org, so you can go on and check out. And also you can go now and see all the different stories that have happened in Parts 1 and Part 2 over the last 12 years. There's really a lot of good information that we've been able to put out through this partnership of Pennsylvania Public Media.
And in this one, you're mentioning stories. Who is involved in the actual put together of the local part of it here?
It's the production teams and the content people at each of these stations around Pennsylvania. In our case, the effort is led by Ben Payavas, who's the Chief Content Officer at VIA Public Media, and his team will talk about what we're aware of. WVIA actually also is kind of the headquarters for the outreach for the state. We have 2 staffers whose job it is to monitor the news on battling opioids, put it out on social media. We've developed a podcast with latest information about opioids. That's all available at battlingopioids.org. And we appear at events with booths and information, handouts, all to try to raise the awareness and fight the stigma of opioid addiction.
And as far as the face of the program?
Paula Giacomo, familiar for many years in northeastern Pennsylvania from WNEP, and she's the host of our Call the Doctor program, and she is the host of this program too. So you'll probably hear her even in today's interview. We'll hear her introducing some of the different guests in the program. But the stories that we're featuring this time are about Vivitrol, which is a once-a-month injection that helps those with opioid addiction, but it's proving to be an effective alternative to some of the other treatments like methadone and Suboxone, but it's not yet widely available. And this story looks at using Vivitrol, particularly in rural communities. And so much of Pennsylvania, so much of northeastern Pennsylvania is rural community that doesn't have great access to recovery centers. But this is how the mobile use can get Vivitrol out into these communities. So there's a whole story on that. And one on music and art therapy, which is being used at a number of places, including the New Roots Recovery Center, Luzerne County's Recovery Center, newly opened in downtown Wilkes-Barre. And
that's the one we have that we're going to play right now.
Sure, why don't we check that out?
Music and art therapy are alternative forms of treatment that are now being used in recovery. These treatments have been used to decrease symptoms of anxiety and repair damage caused by emotional trauma. New Roots Recovery Center provides hope and support to individuals with a substance use disorder.
My experience with my recovery, when you're in active addiction, you often go through the shame and, the stigma of being an addict, getting looked at in a negative fashion. And what I hope to do here at the Recovery Support Center, and especially with my art wellness group, is to kind of break that stigma and bring a community together. The arts and music program, I believe that, I tell people all the time that there might be some skills and some activities that they are good at, but they're not honing those skills while they're in active addiction.
Music and art therapy
they might be good at art, they might be good at music, they might be good at crafts. It's something I discovered when I entered recovery, that I was really good at art. So now today, I'm able to pass that along to others.
New Roots Recovery Support Center in Luzerne County, when we started thinking about the project and what we were going to do to create a hub of resources for people in recovery in our community, we really noticed how much the arts, painting and drawing and writing and music were a part of people's recovery plans. So we actively designed a program that would bring that right to our center. And it was amazing when we started reaching out that immediately people with talents stepped up to the plate and said, really, I'd like to do this. I'd like to come in and help with an art therapy class, or I would like to come in and play some music and things like that. And it really is a beneficial way to teach people how to relax, how to cope, and how to spend their time.
It's different in the fact that it's run by certified recovery specialists who have had substance use disorder. We know what you're going through. We know how it's been. We keep you busy. We can talk to you, help you with everything you need to get to make you part of life, part of your own future of what you wanted. We have our music meditation, which is very holistic for healing, for letting go of yourself, for being able to be out of yourself for a little while. We also have Healing Through Music with Rob, which is actually an amazing class. It's used with percussions to let out feelings, to let out your emotions. You end up all coming around in one group. And once again, you're outside of yourself. You're thinking about something else.
If the members don't want to take their artwork home and hang it up, we might be looking to hang it up here somewhere in the center so that people could view it and it could be a part of the center.
Recovery starts with a call. Call 1-800-662-HELP or visit battlingopioids.org.
What's the official title of the show again,
It's called
Chris?
Battling Opioids Part 3. And it airs on September 26th on VIA TV, 8 p.m., Many of these stories from the previous parts about the opioid addiction crisis in Pennsylvania can be seen online at battlingopioids.org. There's also a podcast there that we've recently started at VIA on behalf of the whole state that keeps up to date on more stories and the latest information.
When you get these officials, do you find that they are receptive to come on?
Oh, absolutely. I think they really appreciate the effort. First of all, there are many media efforts to try to fight this opioid addiction. Entercom has been involved in that as well. You're a leader in that. We are particularly proud that the Pennsylvania public media stations are all working together on this process, and this is now our third major television effort, but we also use radio, we use website, we use social media, we use this podcast that we developed. There are many ways we reach out to try to get information out and fight this. Ray Barashansky is the Deputy Secretary for Health Preparedness and Community Protection at the Pennsylvania Department of Health, and he's a panelist on this Battling Opioids program, and Paula asks him what he's trying to get out of this outreach effort.
Secretary Barashansky, in closing, what would you like to see improve, change within the state as we combat this crisis?
Well, obviously, I'd like to see our overdose death rate go down even further. Yes, we had an 18% drop, but we still have a lot of work to do. I'd like to see us strengthen our relationships with counties and with other stakeholders so that we can get even more people on board. I'd like for the command center to hear about some of the initiatives and other initiatives that are really delivering results across the Commonwealth on a more consistent basis, but also working hand in hand with the legislature to make sure that our goals are one and the same and we're getting things done, or that we continue to get things done.
And once again, we're hearing more from the opioid program that's going. Nice of you to be able to give us a little bit of a sneak preview of all of these things. And you also talk about, which I didn't know really existed, a hotline?
Yeah, there is a hotline that the state set up to try to get later information out, and we've been promoting that in all of our outreach promotion. And in fact, the Deputy Secretary, Ellen Domenico, one of the things she does as a panelist on this program is explain what services are available through the state.
It's a pleasure to be here. The hotline is an opportunity for all of Pennsylvanians to be able to access treatment from an efficient and easy manner. And so what folks can do with the hotline is they call the 1-800-662-HELP number, and that is the first step in terms of accessing both information and resources to get them to the right kinds of treatment at the right point in their lives.
You know, interestingly, it seems like there has already been some effect, not just from what public media has done, but for what the whole state, the emphasis the whole state has put on fighting this, that it looks like the overdose death rate has started to back down a little bit. It had peaked, and for several years in a row, it was running at an alarmingly high rate in Pennsylvania. The more information gets out, the more local organizations, local counties get together and put efforts to fight overdose abuse, but it's not a problem that's going to go away quickly. This is not a short-run, quick-fix kind of thing. This is a long-run education and lifestyle changing. Even an individual person who's suffering from substance disorder abuse, like that may take years, even when they're dedicated to get clean. It may have to try several different kinds of treatments, and it may be several relapses. But
and the biggest thing
many
is
times it takes years.
The stigma.
Yeah.
Because it's not who we think it is.
It's not who we think it is. It's also not what we think it is.
Exactly.
We're learning a whole lot more about brain chemistry now that indicates that some people respond completely differently to the littlest bit of these kind of addictive drugs. For many people, it started fairly innocently. I got to have pain relief because I just had surgery, or I was in an accident, or something like that.
Wisdom teeth.
It can be wisdom teeth, it can be a kidney stone, it can start fairly innocently, and it's going to take a long struggle to try to get this under control, but it looks like we're starting to make progress in Pennsylvania, and that's good news.
So where and when, again, is this going to air?
September 26th, 8 p.m. on VIA TV. Many people still call us Channel 44. That's fine, as long as you find it. You can go online and see these stories and many more sources of information on the opioids crisis at our website, battlingopioids.org. And I just reiterate, VIA, your public television station in Northeast Pennsylvania, has taken the lead in the state in assembling these stories and doing the production and taping the panel presentation that you're going to see on the 26th. But it is a joint effort. of all 7 Pennsylvania public media stations. That's why we call it Battling Opioids, a project of Pennsylvania Public Media.
Recovery starts with a call. Call 1-800-662-HELP or visit battlingopioids.org.
It doesn't take long to become addicted to opioids. 13 Pennsylvanians die from them every day. Geisinger is committed to ending opioid addiction with both prevention and treatment. In the last 3 years, we've reduced the amount of opioids we prescribe by 50%, and we've opened 4 medication-assisted treatment centers across the state to help patients recover from addiction. Learn more at geisinger.org/hadenough.